Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to the GBC SBT live page. We're very happy to bring to you today Manu, Ananda, and Radhika Ranjan Prabhu. And they're going to be discussing, as a part of our Incorporation Day series, the fourth purpose of Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON, which I'll share with us all now. Srila Prabhupada wrote, to teach and encourage the sankirtan movement of congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And we're very happy today to bring to you members of the second generation of Srila Prabhupada's family, all more or less born into Krishna consciousness or connected from an early age. And for me, I'm excited. I feel it's quite appropriate. These devotees are brought together not by a bureaucratic sense of connection or purpose, but because of their mutual respect and friendship that they've developed through sharing and trying to share with others sankirtan, kirtan, projects such as Kirtan London and Radhadesh Mellows, the famous Kirtan festival in Europe, have brought these devotees together to try to serve the purpose of Srila Prabhupada's. And so we brought them together today to have a conversation about their experiences in that service, what it's brought for them, what they've seen it do for others, and the potential that it has also going forward to help the movement and the world come closer together in our relationship with Krishna. So I'm going to bow out now and let these devotees have their way with each other in conversation. And if anybody has any comments or questions for them, please share in the comments there on the feed, and they'll address them as they can through their conversation. So very happy to have you devotees with us today, and looking forward to a wonderful conversation.
Thank you
so much, David.
Hi, Bo.
We really appreciate you kindly facilitating the start of this conversation. But also we were discussing before this, the Harmony Collective, and it's just so impressive everything that he's doing in Michigan. And we'd love to one day be able to see you and meet you there and see all the wonderful things that you're doing to maybe imbibe this purpose number 4. So as he was mentioning, purpose 4, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement of congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And the three of us feel very honored that in very many different ways we've been able to be engaged in service to try and serve this purpose of ISKCON. And I guess the only natural way to kind of start this conversation is to maybe take a trip down memory lane. Wonderful things perhaps that we've been honored and privileged to be a part of. So maybe it would be nice to hear from Manu and Ananda what your thoughts were or what your reflections were when you turn back time and you think about perhaps the way in which your attraction to this purpose started, your gratitude and appreciation perhaps for Prabhupada as well, and other teachers, other gurus, other guides who have given us encouragement in this purpose as well. So maybe Ananda, you can start us off and share a little bit about your background in finding this purpose and being attracted to this purpose.
Thank you. Thank you. This is, I mean, it's always important to start with gratitude, but I feel especially appropriate for Kirtan. With gratitude and kind of remembering where it's coming from. And yes, it's our purpose and it's our means and it's our roots. I grew up in Russia and I went to Moscow Gurukul. And so I grew up with Kirtan morning programs in the school and Kirtan every day. And even at an early age, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8, as early as 7 or 8, we were going to perform at different schools or in squares or wherever was possible to share. Kirtan was the main means to share Krishna consciousness and to kind of present how these, because in Russia, obviously that was right post Soviet Russia. It was very, very rough times, very interesting. So no one knew anything about yoga or Krishna or Hinduism or anything like that. The only thing people knew in Russia maybe were Bollywood movies, old school. So yeah, it was a wonderful way to kind of share. So I was trained from an early age to go up on stage and sing and say something. And then obviously we were going on book distribution on the street, door to door from a very early age. So all of that gave us an amazing, first of all, purpose in life. and kind of understanding of how people out there are suffering on one hand, and on another hand, how we can, in small way, even little children can go out and say something, and it's so meaningful to people. And that's to say how amazing Srila Prabhupada's books, Srila Prabhupada's message, and of course the fact that Srila Prabhupada came to the West. Every time I try to really reflect on it, it gets me all emotional. But I don't know what we've done to be so fortunate that Srila Prabhupada kind of braved it so much for the sake of our existence and of our improvement, but also that now we get to, in small way, kind of participate in that mission and also share and also help somebody else. So I guess in summary, from an early age, I was involved in those kind of sharing activities and preaching activities, and somehow it got into my bones, into my blood. So now I can't I can't live without it, even though I have 2 children. One of them is 3, and Radhika would know. I've been on the team for Kirtan London in London. There's a project, kind of an outreach project, that shares kirtan all through London, and there's also sister projects all over the world. Kirtan Globe, which is Kirtan Vancouver, Kirtan Moscow, Kirtan Toronto, Kirtan Sydney, Kirtan Hong Kong, in all different places. So we in London have been doing our little part in sharing kirtan specifically, and kind of connecting people to Srila Prabhupada's teachings, to Srila Prabhupada's message through kirtan, through chanting. And so I've been part of it for about 7 years, and Radhika knows, as I was saying earlier, even when I was heavily pregnant, 2 weeks 2 weeks before, I couldn't quite give up, and even as soon as my son was born, just go straight back into, and my daughter is now participating as well. So it's kind of nice to be involved in that mission, in that spirit of sharing the treasures that Srila Prabhupada's given us. So I guess I'm going to stop there because I've said a lot, and I want to leave some stuff for you guys as well.
Well, that's really kind, and it's actually super inspiring to hear that you've really come from this grassroots place of being able to share from door to door all the way through to where we are right now, where Ananda and I, we work very closely together in London and trying to serve, to try and share the holy name with so many people in the yoga spheres, in the spiritual seeking spheres, but also ordinary corporate. There's so many different areas in which we've been sharing, and it's just really inspiring, actually, Ananda, to hear how you come from the grassroots and all the way through. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that, whether the grassroots is still very much in your blood, how you connect with that also. But Manu, I want to turn to you now, because you're someone that has inspired many of us in the second generation when it comes through to Kirtan festivals, having hundreds, if not thousands, of people come together. And I think it would be of most people's interest to hear what sparked that interest for you, and maybe a little bit about your appreciation for the background and where that came from.
Ooh, so much to say, but for sure, what I would like to share on that is that it comes especially from those around that always encourage, and those that see something within you that often you don't see yourself. And so with regards to that, similar to Ananda, I also grew up fully in a Krishna conscious environment here in this wonderful community that is Radhadesh, and quite a protected community far away from the city. So we definitely had more of the village experience growing up, and our focus was also more on Gurukul and just attending the programs and just having a great time. But we got a lot of opportunities as young people in this movement to be engaged in Kirtan, to be engaged in general in Srila Prabhupada's desired activities. And what it gave us is just a wonderful space where, as children growing up, we didn't feel any pressure. We just felt a wonderful environment of love, of care, and of activities that we also linked very much with, which, as we know, much of the second generation, they particularly connect with the chanting, with the holy name, and in specific with Kirtan. And this, myself, just as Ananda, one big part of this was certain seniors that definitely have
have done a lot for us. And one key senior, at least for me in my life as still a young person, I was only 18, was Yamuna Devi, who has now passed away already 10 years ago, nearly 10 years ago, but who is very much fresh in our hearts, in our minds. She, with myself, I know with Ananda, same, and with many of our mutual friends and acquaintances and people that now do so much in the world of Kirtan and distributing the holy name, she had this ability to find this little spark amidst all this darkness and just fan that and just make you feel as if that's all there was. And so as a young person, when all you think about is being validated, is finding your space, when someone gives you this kind of confidence, this full firm belief in yourself and really values you and makes you feel valued, it allows you to really, really push things in a wonderful direction. So from this experience, I developed a sincere taste in chanting, especially by being with her and all those that she invited to do these wonderful, extremely intimate kirtans with, and where I understood what it is to be in a kirtan environment, as she was personally taught by Srila Prabhupada, and how the essence was the chanting and the chanting only, and the instruments, they're very important, but they're the decoration, and the essence is really the chanting. And she gave us this really, really strong understanding and experience, which once you've had it, then it's just clear. You don't need to doubt again on the potency of the chanting and of wonderful association, especially within Kirtan. And from there on, I can say I've always had a profound desire to serve the holy name, to serve anything to do with the chanting. And by different ways, Krishna provided opportunities, most often due to the kindness or insight of people more senior than me who gave me opportunities, which I know wasn't the case for many other youths, but I somehow received them. And to make justice to that, I did my best, or I have been trying to do my best, and some wonderful results have come about it. And all with the help of so many friends, because that's another thing, we tend to always speak about the head or the one that represents, but when you dig deep down, you do know that it's a community of devotees that make things possible. And same for all our projects that we're involved in. Just like in Kirtan, it's not a one-man band. It's definitely a team effort. And this has been the way that it's led me into doing these different festivals and events. And I'm glad it's inspired many, and I'm glad many are still very inspired to be part of it and to make it better and better and attracting more and more people. So yeah, this is what I can share for now.
Wow. Thank you so much.
What about you, Radhika? You share now.
I was trying to get away by
You can't just ask questions. You share as well.
Yeah. See, for me, I wasn't born in the movement. I wasn't fortunate to have the association of many of these senior devotees who are no longer with us. I joined when I was about 15 years old. And at that time, while I was looking up on YouTube, these inspirational figures who were sharing so much wisdom, for me at that time was Tamal Krishna Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. I was keen to meet them, but by the point I'd already joined, they'd already departed from this world. And so I was always trying to find my feet among this generation of devotees who have had a wonderful experience in connecting with so many wonderful devotees. But I think one thing that attracted me was the ability to transcend material life through a process which is so simple as chanting. And when I saw it in action, when I saw persons like His Holiness Sachinandana Swami or His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, when they're chanting and they're clearly experiencing something deeper, one is intrigued to see what's really behind that. And you peel away the layers a little bit, and even someone, a novice like myself, even to this day, can see that there's some value there. And so as the years went by, I found myself trying to get out of the shell of not singing. And I've told this story many times, where when I joined, I was very conscious about using the voice to sing, because I was convinced, a stereotype being that men, real men, Manu, real men don't sing. And And so I used to mime in the kirtan. I used to sit at the back, and I wasn't confident enough to even allow the expression through singing to take place. So it's been a real journey, but I can say hand on heart that over the past 10 years, not only chanting, but trying to share that with others, I've noticed my life blossom and change in so many different ways. And I can only attribute that genuinely to those who I saw practicing and experiencing something, and also sharing with others, such as Sachinanda Maharaj. There's so many wonderful teachers and gurus that I've learned from. And I guess, yeah, I'm just always in deep, deep, deep gratitude for these teachers, because where would I be without them? What would I be doing? I even dread to think. So then even speaking about teaching and encouraging the Sankirtan movement, which is, I guess, where we're going now, the present moment and what we're doing and how we feel that's having impact, it naturally goes on. But I always felt it was important to acknowledge our teachers, especially Srila Prabhupada, who, like we mentioned, if we just talk about him for a short period of time, tears start to well up in the eyes. Even though none of us physically in this lifetime perhaps have met him, there's an attachment there because we value what he's done so much. We value so much what he's created, a house, a home for us all to live in. And so that's why I think it was important that we all together shared our appreciation and gratitude for those who have brought us to where we are now. And I guess the natural next step is to speak about what's happening for us and what we're sharing at the moment, and how that's manifesting. And so I wanted to maybe go back in reverse order. So Manu, you can maybe share first. And yeah, what's been going on to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement of congregational chanting? How has that manifested in your life?
I'm particularly based here at the moment in Radhadesh, in the sense that I don't move as much, especially since my family is expanding. So my service has been mostly based on site, but despite of this, it hasn't stopped me of doing, of being part of many wonderful projects. Obviously, there is the Radhadesh Mellows Festival, which is an annual program, which, as we know today, well, at least this year, it attracted 1,400 people that were here on site, and many more, hundreds of thousands of people online, and still on YouTube and on all the other facilities where all these recordings are on. They get heard every day by so many people. So it's so nice to be part of something like this, which both as a one-off event on an annual basis attracts many people to it, but also on a continual way inspires many just by the quality of the recording, which is through a lot of hard work by some very sincere devotees who appreciate Kirtan. I've been doing this for nearly, well, for actually more than 10 years now. So that's one big element which is there, and which takes continuous work throughout the year to maintain, to facilitate, to be in touch with many people. Then on a practical level, on a very community level here, and something which I definitely encourage anyone who is very sincere and who has a desire to push Kirtan forward, is on a regular basis to hold Kirtans. You don't need to be the most expert instrument players or most expert singer. Kirtan is absolutely not about this. It is about the chanting, and chanting as a group. It's the congregational chanting, and we have this good fortune that actually since Radhasmi 2009, a few of us who were very young, we just started every evening to do Kirtan in the temple for Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, and we started just because, well, we obviously liked Kirtan, but we didn't really have anything better to do. So we started like this, and sure enough, after a month, or maybe I would say 2 months, we realized, hey, we're doing this every single day. And then it became really like, this is our service. And it's meant even up to this day that there's practically no single excuse not to be there at 8:15 on the time we start. And even our temple schedule now is accordingly, like the one that's giving the Gita class knows the moment we step into the door, they're like, okay, time for class to finish. And it's not to say we have hijacked the place, but to say that the appreciation has been there because we've been so steady doing this. And you can see also the result with regards to all our guests, all the many groups of people that come, all the tourists and all the local devotees. We always have a wonderful attendance that's there from a regular evening where there will always be at least, somewhere like at least 10 devotees, and on weekends you easily go, to 20, 30, and then when groups are around, it goes to 50, 60, 70, and that's just very standard. And this is something that has grown over time, and that really, really impacts this community, but also all those that come through, because many people ask, oh, how come you guys, you do so many things with regards to kirtan? And I've been told by Jamuna Devi, I've been told also by Sachinandan Maharaj that when you do something on a regular basis, especially here, doing kirtan on a daily basis for the pleasure of the Lord, then you really, really get some potent results that come back. And my perspective on this is that the whole success we have behind our festival, which takes place every year, is because we every single day do our part in serving Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. It's not just because we're a good team of organizers and we do well. It's because we are doing the practice ourselves, which is very, very key in kirtan. We're doing it on a daily basis, even on austere, tough days. We are there, we're doing it. And it enhances our own spiritual practice. It enhances our own taste in the holy name. And it allows that whenever we do something which is related to kirtan and to spreading the congregational chanting, it's nearly always successful. And that comes from that strength. And that's something which that we're doing now, that we have been doing, and that we will continue hopefully doing for as long as we're able to, that really gives us a great strength to any project. So I know, for instance, for yourselves, Radhika and Ananda, one of the reasons you are very good at what you do, it's not just because when you show up for an event, that's the only time you're going to sing for the Lord. No, you love to do it just amongst friends, in the park, at the temple, any opportunity that's there. We're just happy to sit together and do kirtan, whether it is just amongst us or whether it is with, 1,000 people or more in a very grand way. We're just happy to do it. And that is the strength that comes through. And you really feel how Krishna, the Parampara, gives the strength by being sincere and serious in the service, sends the strength both internally as individuals, but also by sending people that assist that you would sometimes not expect and that make things possible that you can only dream, or not even dream, but you don't even want to think of. So, yeah.
Wow, thank you. I think for me, what really came across was this principle of steadiness. Like every time I speak with Manu, even if we're just catching up over prashadam or sitting together, he really drums on this point of steadiness in our relationship with the Holy Name. And I think that when it comes to this principle, the purpose, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, if I'm honest for myself, what can I really teach? It's not that I have any innate ability to teach, but rather because of some regular association with chanting or regular association with those who love to chant. It's understood that faith comes from those who have it. And I think it's the same when it comes to, if you want to share the Sankirtan movement, if you want to share the chanting of the Holy Name, then we have to then be ready to make a commitment to that relationship. Sambandha Gyan is so important when it comes to the chanting of the Holy Name. And so this principle of regularity and steadiness that Manu is always talking about, even in friend circles, but at Radhadesh, anyone who goes to Radhadesh will know that at set time, every single day, everyone comes together in the temple room and we chant together, we sing together. And it's such a wonderful kind of coming together of devotees who are keen to improve, enhance, develop, deepen their connection with chanting. And so that principle really comes across. So thank you so much for sharing that. I wanted to turn to Ananda also. So I think maybe this is a nice way of doing it. Maybe we share what we're doing, but also some of the principles behind how it manifests and what has really come across for you in your experience, perhaps.
Yeah. I just wanted to reflect a little bit on what Manu was saying about regularity as well. And it was funny because back in Russia, when I used to live there many, many years ago, we were getting together weekly and doing kirtan once a week together. And then a group of us were in Vrindavan and we had a darshan with Indra Prabhu. And so he had this whole talk for us and saying wonderful things about Srila Prabhupada. And then he's like, and what is this life? We're like, how many times a week are you chanting together? How are you doing kirtan together? We're like, well, once a week. We were like, it's so often, so regular. He's like, once a week only? You need to do it every day. And he was saying it with such love and such sincere taste that you just knew how important that was and how serious it was. So of course, living in a big city for us, it wasn't possible to get together every day, but we were getting together as many times a week as we could to chant. And it was interesting because we started, well, I joined those Friday night bhajans in Moscow, and then I moved to London, and those same Friday night bhajans were happening in London, but just with a different group of people in a different place. And it was just like family. I've just like moved countries, but it seemed like I completely didn't move at all. It was the same kind of flavor, a lot of love flowing, and amazing to be in chanting all together. So I would say getting together with friends and doing it kind of on a friendly, in a friendly environment, it was kind of one of the key things. And for me, I wasn't a confident kirtan leader until I well, I started kind of doing some kirtan leading in Moscow, but once I moved here, and it was even more regular and even more kind of, it was all growing. It just helped so much to grow confidence, to grow attachment even to that process, with just getting together with friends and in a very non-judgmental, very kind of equal manner, just sharing little bits, however much you can, however much you have basically to share in whatever way. You can't play instruments, fine, just sing, someone else helps, that friendly environment really helped. So I would say that's probably another thing that helps. And of course, guidance, like Manu mentioned, Yamuna Devi, she was a really big influence for me as well. And Indra Prabhu, obviously for most second generation, he was one of the biggest influences, probably if not the biggest influence in terms of attachment to kirtan and developing kind of understanding and love, and also some proficiency, because you get so much taste that you can't stop. You just keep practicing, you keep doing it. So that guidance, I would say, we can learn techniques, and we can learn I don't know, we can improve in a theoretical and practical level from somebody, but there's nothing like getting the taste from somebody. And if you connect with someone that has that taste, Radhika, you were also mentioning, right? So that was kind of was the turning point. You felt that taste. You felt that that it was real for those that you met, for Sachinanda Maharaj or Radhanath Swami in your case, right? And then it just turns you. It just you start developing that taste. So I guess seeking that guidance and spending as much time as possible with people that have that taste just naturally helps water that seed and help it grow, on top of course practice and just doing it like you were saying, Manu. So yeah, I guess those are my kind of 2 cents. I don't know, what do you think, Radhika?
I mean, I was reflecting just now about how it's manifest this purpose for me, to teach and encourage the sankirtana movement, and I think that it's manifested in some obvious ways where people can see on social media, where I'm trying my best anyway, whatever is little possible to share in this yoga sphere or among spiritual seekers. And I think the reason why it manifested in that way, well, the 3 things that kind of shouted at me were, number 1 was the way in which it transformed my life and the way in which I'm seeing it transform the life of others. And that gives me so much encouragement when I see someone who has been suffering. And I remember that kind of feeling, even as a teenager, where you're lost. You don't know, do I go and associate with those who are engaged in activities which I'm not so much attracted by, or even if, for an adult, someone who's experiencing pain and loss, pain in their relationships, not feeling that they found their duty in this world, and seeing how Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy name, has transformed that person's life. I feel like that has been an eye-opener for me to then feel more encouraged to share. And the second thing was, for me, was compassion. And I think that every single living entity, Radhanath Maharaj speaks about this in like every single class, that the need for every living entity is to love and to be loved. And I think that this sharing of Kirtan, the sharing of the holy name, has been my avenue, I guess, to be able to reach people who ordinarily I'd never talk to. I'd never reach them. I'd never have a conversation with that person. We have such different interests most of the time. But through this process, through this chanting, it just breaks down all the barriers. You know, you can be a person of this ethnicity, that ethnicity, this cultural background, that, etc., this language, that language. But the chanting has just brought so much diversity together in unity through this principle of being able to offer love and to also be reciprocated with love. It's not that I go to the kirtan with a sign, love me, but rather it's just that feeling of Sangha Kirtan, of coming together with those who we don't even know sometimes, and being able to offer in a group setting our voices and our hearts to the Lord, I found has been a great encouragement for me. And I guess one of the reasons why I still try my best to teach or encourage others in the Sankirtan movement. And the last thing I wrote down was this principle of teaching me what it means to lead. I think that Kirtan has been really purifying in helping me to understand what does it mean to be a leader. And it's not about being in front of the mic most of the time. And I think that that has been shown so much through Kirtan. By just being in the Kirtan for so long, if you just remain with the process, then these things come out. The ego, the false ego that we try to cover up and put in the back closet has come to the forefront. And now I have to address this thing with the big ego. I need to deal with it. That was one thing, dealing with giving people opportunities and knowing that it's not just about your voice. I'm speaking to myself here. That's another thing that's come out for me. So leadership has been taught through Kirtan for me. And it's not by any means or stretch that I'm a leader, but more that what I wanted to say is that it's taught me, I guess, just to appreciate what Prabhupada has done, because the way in which he did it, he gave everyone the opportunity. And, you know, the famous story of when he's talking about building, I think it was in Mayapur, you both can correct me, and the story where he's telling the devotees that you put the bricks because you should get the credit. I don't know if you guys remember that story, Manu, vaguely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the idea that the way Prabhupada imbibed leadership through servant leadership, by knowing that this is actually a service rather than having a microphone in front of me all the time, has been taught through teaching and trying to share Kirtan. So I guess those three things, yeah, the way it's transformed others' lives and the way it's shown me how much value it has for others' lives, it's given me encouragement, compassion, the need to love and be loved, and yeah, what does it mean to lead? As that's been taught through teaching and sharing Kirtan. And I guess the next thing is, I guess for us, we keep getting categorized and banded in this youth category. But the gray beard hairs are starting to appear, and the gray hairs are coming, and Manu is now a father. Ananda has 2 children, and she's looking still youthful, but we're getting on in life, and the time is coming.
We're not youth anymore. We're not the youth anymore.
It's interesting because we always get put into the category of the youth or the next generation, and I think that it's important that we also acknowledge that there are a huge amount of devotees who are in the next generation and the generation after that, and I guess it's what about trying to share that with the next? How can we encourage the next generation? What is in our hands right now that we can do? Ultimately nothing, but what do we feel we can add to maybe the next generation? Maybe we go back the other way, Ananda and then Manu.
Why don't you start? You
Okay.
never started yet.
Yeah, I really try to imbibe this principle that no one really cares what you know until they know that you care. I'm going to say that again because I messed it up. No one cares what you know until they know that you care. And if I reflect on the way in which I was encouraged through the Friday night Kirtan at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, or through Manu and his example in Radhadesh, or through Sachinandan Swami and his pure ability to connect with the holy name, I think it's not been so much the knowledge that has encouraged me. It's been about those who have really cared and taken the opportunity to share their love. And that has given me, and that is a principle I want to try and live by, so that I can share it with the next generation, if I have the option and opportunity to do so. That it's not that they have to do it the same way that I do it. It's not that they have to dress like me, sing like me, speak like me, talk like me. I don't want them to be copycats. Let them be who they are, but at the same time, try to encourage them through love and through caring for them and giving them the opportunity, giving them a voice, like the GBC SPT has so kindly done for us. It's interesting because I was having conversations the last 2 weeks about the GBC with some friends, and then the next day I get a message from a few devotees saying, "Would you like to do this?" And I was like, "Oh my God, Krishna, you heard what I was talking about." And so I guess being given the opportunity was so, I'm very honored, but also I feel there's some love. I feel that, Prabhupada has given us all an opportunity and all a voice through his care and through his institution. And so, people don't care what you know until they know you care. That's for me going to be the living principle for sharing it to the next generation. Ananda, now your turn.
Amazing. Oh God, for sharing into the next generation. I guess your principle is probably at the core and at the front of everything. So I completely agree with that. But also, I think probably important to highlight the well, I guess I've already highlighted it, but I'll say it again. Important to connect with the roots and not forget where it's coming from, because it's very easy to kind of invent and trying to be relevant, and in trying to be kind of speaking in the language of the day. It's very easy to start forgetting where it's all coming from, and kind of the actual message can get lost, and some genuinity can also get lost in that. So I guess, the importance of honoring the roots and of studying the roots and of just carrying them through. It doesn't mean that you can't make it relevant and accessible in the modern day, and present it with a language that people would understand. But Prabhupada in fact encouraged us to present in put our minds together, and really try and present it in a way that people would connect with today, according to time, place, and circumstance. So that doesn't mean that it always has to feel archaic or feel a bit, or seem like it's very ancient. It's ancient no matter what you do, but it's still important for us, especially for those that are sharing and that are doing it always kind of have that link, have that connection.
You had a quote. I know that you prepared something. So did you want to? I know it's Rita, and I know that it's so relevant exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was a really nice quote from one of. Well, actually, I had two quotes. One was Prabhupada Leela, and one was from a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just tell you one about this relevancy. Where Prabhupada was kindly saying, "The new procedures you're instituting on Sankirtan party are very encouraging to me. The opportunities for expanding the Sankirtan movement are unlimited. We should tax our brains as to what is the best way to present Krishna consciousness to particular people at a particular time and place." Srila Prabhupada, letter to Karandhar Das, 13th of November 1970. So that's kind of just saying what I tried to summarize, about how yeah, we should be taxing our brain to make it relevant and to make it accessible in this day and age. But at the same time, not to forget where it's all coming from and our gratitude.
Manuji, any thoughts?
Yeah, I actually wanted to somehow close the loop on that, because I really appreciate your point there, Ananda, and Radhika. You were also mentioning about the ego, and actually that's the answer how to deal with that, because naturally all of us, at least the three of us, if I may say, we've received so much from these wonderful seniors directly, also from Srila Prabhupada through his writings, through all the education he's given to his disciples, and this movement that he's put in place. And as much as there might be moments when we're involved in kirtan and there is attention that's put on us, there is many places where we're treated very nicely, and also places where we're not. But we're given often a forefront, just like the opportunity right now to be involved here in a talk like this is because we are given those opportunities on a regular basis. But to remember that all of this has come from somewhere, and it's not us from our own imagination or our own spiritual strength that have just emanated this out and made this accessible to others. This has come from those wonderful seniors that they have shared with us, and actually also other devotees that in different ways have educated us, and to understand that whatever is given to us, it is our duty to share. And when we share, one, we understand this is not me, I'm not the doer, Krishna is a doer, we're working as an instrument in the line, and it really brings solidity and validity also to what you might be expressing, to what you might be educating and giving to others. And it's so much more profound than just our own take on things. So yes, 100%, whichever way we are able to reach out, we should, any way to serve Krishna that can be done nicely, we do it. Yet it shouldn't change the essence of the message, the essence of the practice. And I know that especially the two of you, you're very, very particular on keeping everything as pure as possible with that regards, and same for myself. And it makes such a strong impact, because what happens after is that we feel the support. Even in moments where things are not easy, we know, Krishna sends the support in many wonderful and different ways. And by sharing what we have been given, what we have the good fortune of being given, we allow others to experience the same and to then do the same, and in this way propagate the chanting of the holy name. I very strongly remember, like in the last year with Jamuna Devi, I asked her about this, because it was the first periods in my life where I was starting to get some attention with regards to some activities with regards to chanting that I was involved in. And she was very, very strong and simple on it. She said, I mean, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have the exact quotes, but she basically said, whatever you've been given, you need to share and give back to others, because if you do not do this, you actually cultivate envy. And when you cultivate envy, greed, etc., you will end up losing what Krishna has given to you. And by this statement, it really affected me strongly, and it didn't make me think a lot about everything. And I mean, I'm not dupe. Like both of you are such wonderful, generally such wonderful singers, and aside of the chanting, I'm saying you have musical capacity. Me, it's a little bit less my strength, but that sincerity is also there, and I know that speaks out to people. And I've had so many experiences where people, they don't come because this has been a wonderful musical experience. They come because this has been an incredible spiritual experience, and they express this. And I know when that has happened, most often it has nothing to do with me. It's just the holy name that had the mercy of being there with that individual, because usually I know my consciousness is still figuring out which direction I'm going in, but Krishna does his part, and he appears to those who are sincere. And when that happens in something you're involved in, you feel like, oh, I'm doing some nice service here. I'm actually doing something that's assisting others, and taking that humble position of just being the one that continues the sharing of the knowledge, continues sharing what it is, the experience of kirtan, of congregational chanting, which is we all know it's the highest taste. It's the thing we will never give up. It's the thing we'll put in front of anything else. And to understand that it's not us, but by being involved, we get to be part of it. And Krishna really reciprocates, and so many wonderful things can happen in this way. That I can promise anyone that's listening here, that there's a lot of wonderful things that come true. Just try it, and you'll see.
Thank you so much. That was really, I really appreciate what you spoke about envy there. And I think in connection to this purpose, or the last part of it is, as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And one thing that you were speaking about envy, and the other thing that came to my mind was surrounding humility. And we bound this around quite a lot. What is it to be humble when sharing the holy name? Because we all understand it universally. For anyone that's been around for a while knows that humility is the prerequisite for chanting. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu speaks, Trinada Pisu Nichena, being lower than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, ready to give respect to all others, etc. But I think that it'd be interesting to hear your perspectives on humility as well, because we can't share, I guess, unless we're humble. I think you mentioned something like, Manu, like getting out of the way so others can have an experience with Krishna. It's not about so much us being in the center, but rather giving people the opportunity to have that experience with Krishna through the chanting of the holy name. And I guess one thing that really strikes me about humility is the way in which Prabhupada described it. Anyway, one way in which he described it was to not think of ourselves as so low, but to think of Krishna as being so great, and seeing that as being the of importance. Because I think with humility, sometimes people, I mean, I can only speak for myself again, I feel sometimes I get self-absorbed in that I am so low, I'm low. But rather we should try maybe with the perspective of Krishna, you are so great. I just wanted to put it out there. Maybe either one of you, whoever has a thought on this, on humility when it comes to sharing kirtan or teaching the sankirtan movement, etc.
I have a small experience that definitely in the kirtan that it kind of comes out naturally. So like you don't have to think about it much. You just, as soon as you don't think of kind of Krishna as being great, but thinking of yourself being low, you forget the melody, you forget the words, it's just so easy, even just on that practical point, to get lost and to get distracted and not, you know what I mean, just even not basic like that. But especially how you're saying to get out of the way, it's everyone's in kirtan, it's everyone's individual experience with Krishna during kirtan, no matter who is leading or who is facilitating the experience. It's those sitting in the room that are connecting with Krishna at that time. And yes, you are somehow helping facilitate it in terms of musical experience, but really it's just so beautiful to see that, and so humbling to see that, and to kind of realize, have that understanding and realization that actually this is for everyone else now to connect with Krishna. And I absolutely, it doesn't depend on me in any way. even if I croak like a frog, you know what I mean, it's literally it's theirs. Obviously that's not to say that the presentation shouldn't be nice, because it's our service for Krishna, so we're trying our best to kind of improve even the presentation side of things. But it's it's just always on that practical point. It always happens as soon as I start thinking it's in any way me doing something here, it completely falls apart. And it's a real process. You really see how Krishna kind of guides you in that way, to put you back in place and put you back. Okay, you're not the doer here. Continue to just be a kind of a medium, an instrument, if at best.
Thank you. Are you got any thoughts?
Well, there's one aspect of humility which I did want to mention, because obviously humility in its pure nature is one that we all aspire to, and we train ourselves so we can do our service nicely. But we should be careful in the process also not to use that as an excuse to shy away out of responsibility. And by this I mean as people that have received something that, you know, how insignificant it might be, but whatever we've received, we shouldn't take the humble position, oh, I cannot share, I cannot share, I cannot share. No, we should have the faith that if we are asked, and this becomes also a repetitive thing, because, you know, Krishna is expert at giving signs. When when you're meant to share something, you get asked in many different ways, and first you're like, whoa, but then you realize, I guess maybe there is something that I'm supposed to say, and maybe there is a kirtan that I'm supposed to lead, and I'll try my best, and you naturally do it in the best possible level of consciousness and full humility as much as is possible. But to not shy away of the service, to not shy away of the responsibility of the service. And the reason I emphasize this is because many of us receive actually more than what we realize. And even though it might seem so insignificant to us, because we know there's so much more that we do not know, that we feel that we lack. But people, just by getting that little element, they make a step forward. And that is particularly noticeable in, when we do these programs. Like most of us, we're used to doing, yoga kirtan programs in many different yoga studios and venues. And the amount of times in such places, especially I would say more than temples, people are so appreciative. And why is that? It's not because, they hear just a musical aspect or something. It's no, because one, they're not coming to the temple, most of them. And they also do not have this relation yet with chanting, with Bhakti, chanting with love, and chanting for Krishna. And so when that opportunity is there, we know, we've seen it, like we are, who are we to think we can share the holy name? But we understand that it's not we that are going to share. We're just going to do our part. We're going to try. And if Krishna decides to appear in the hearts and minds of some of the people, then we feel honored that we've been able to share this way. And that is actually what happens. And in so many of these programs with people who are not yet accustomed to chanting, they really, really get touched on a profound level, because they actually have more of a sensitivity to perceive the difference, because they have not experienced yet something like this. It's like, the best example is, I guess for me and Ananda, we always ate prasadam. So we've never had this first experience of what it is, to taste a wonderful paneer sabji, some gulab jamuns, or whatever it might be. And of course, we obviously value it and we cherish it as much now. But to have that first experience, that thing which made most of our parents and so many people to enter into this movement, we don't have that opportunity. So we're not complaining. We've had it since childhood. We're grateful. But not to underestimate the power of the chanting, especially when it's done with a sincere attitude. And even though we are maybe not the most qualified, when we incorporate humility and we do it in a real mood of service, as we've been talking about, then wonderful and incredible things happen. And obviously we understand, and we need to continuously remind ourselves, this is not my doing. This is all Krishna's doing. This is all the parampara, and we're serving here in the line. And as much as we're allowed to, we will keep serving in this way. And please also, Krishna, do send us, and he does, reminders when we're a little bit out of line.
Yeah.
And then we have to hear it, and it works on our humility, but that's welcome and it's appreciated.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that's been said. And one caveat I want to add is, anyone that's watching, and we've spoken about sharing yoga studios and that atmosphere, but one thing is for sure, for the next generation, I wanted to make this point, that don't think about what is it and where is it that you're sharing. I know that many of us can sometimes think that, oh, it's not on a big platform, so I don't need to go there. It's only a Friday night bhajan. I don't need to be there. But the point is, when it comes to our relationship with the holy name, every mantra counts, every syllable counts, every opportunity to call out Krishna's name counts. And you'd be surprised by how sometimes the smallest of opportunities can lead to big opportunities. And I think for me, I remember being at Friday Night Bhajan, sitting right at the back, feeling like I'm not really part of this crew because they've all grown up together. I'm just attending as someone from the street, so to say. And just those moments still stand out to me to this day. The moments where the devotees encourage, okay, come, just even if there's 2 or 3 people in the room, or even if it's just you and a friend just singing together, that these aren't moments which are like, oh, that's not really a service. It is a service to Krishna. It is a service to Prabhupada, to also do those opportunities to chant as well. So just wanted to add that caveat in there, because I know that we've spoken about sharing on a big level on so many grand projects, but also to consider that Krishna is great in the holy name, even when it's just you in the holy name, even when it's just you and your japa mala, then Krishna is so great there also. He's just as present there for the devotee who is very much mindful of him and attentive to him. And so that was just something that came to me while Manu, you were speaking. And with 5 minutes, or rather 4 minutes and 30 seconds to go, I just wanted to see if you, both of you, had any closing words, any last sentences, anything from anything that we've said today, or anything that still is yet to be said, because this is such an amazingly huge topic. But anything that either of you want to say, perhaps to close.
I think Ananda should go last as our senior amongst us juniors and as the wise person amongst us. But I did want to add one thing, because I'm so happy you mentioned this, and I know all 3 of us we feel strongly about it. But not obviously the topic today is congregational chanting, but we should never underestimate the importance of chanting on a daily basis, our rounds and our japa, because that is our direct relation with the holy name. And if we cannot do that with taste, then we shouldn't expect to be able to chant in kirtan with taste. And I really mean this as a second generation, as a rebellious second generation who always has the reputation they will do kirtan over any japa experience. But I have learned to understand the value of it, and we know, like even Ayendra Prabhu as one of the key, if not the most key person in terms of sharing kirtan, especially with the second generation, with so many people. He was so strong about chant your 16 rounds daily before, ideally, even you come into kirtan, because that is what gives you the strength and the power to do your service correctly. And Srila Prabhupada put that not for any random reason. He put this because that is our direct connection, our direct relation, and it's what gives the steadiness and the strength to chanting as a group. So just encouraging everyone to not forget your rounds, and they are fully connected. They're the same thing, just that it's a necessary thing. Even though there might be some austerity to it, it's something with time, if you really try your best, that you develop taste as well for, and your kirtan will relish so much more from that. So I just wanted to share that as a last.
It's another.
It's so true.
The moments where I felt most scared and most nervous about sharing, I've always found solace, and I know that Prabhupada would mention that, has mentioned that to be in Krishna's presence means to feel no fear. How does it feel to be with Krishna? It means you feel no fear. And I remember very clearly, Manu, when you asked me to chant at the Radhadesh Mellows, like, why? Like, there's so many nice devotees here. And I spoke with our mutual friend Gaur Krishna, and he very kindly encouraged me, just chant the Japa Mala, make sure you finish your rounds, and then you'll be all right. And I remember finishing the Japa Mala, I felt all right. I didn't feel as nervous, and I felt that I could get out of the way of, what we spoke about earlier, not trying to be the person, but rather get out of the way, let Krishna do the work. And yeah, so I guess that would be my closing. I want to maybe double emphasize what you said, is establish your relationship with Krishna through your sadhana. Your character will be shown. Radhanath Maharaj speaks about your character will be shown by what you do behind 4 walls when no one else is watching. And that is so much the case with our relationship with Krishna. If you want to teach, encourage sankirtana, and be in the lineage of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, as this Purpose 4 speaks about, then establish a relationship with Krishna through chanting when no one else is watching. Thank you, Manu, for inspiring that. And Ananda, as our senior, you can finish for the day.
I'm not senior. Why are you saying that? That's so funny. Anyway, I guess I'm gonna triple emphasize the point by just saying, even in the airplane, they're saying, put the gas mask the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on others, even on your kids. So I guess that's just, yeah, it just speaks for itself. You have to save yourself first if you want to change the world. So yeah, let's continue to start with ourselves daily in the morning, but not forget to then share the wealth that we receive, so that we don't get caught up in that ego of our own thing. I guess that's an hour now, so I'm just gonna emphasize your beautiful point.
Thank you both so much. I'm really honored to be with you both, to serve in this way. Thank you to the GBC SPT, the strategic planning team, for encouraging and engaging the three of us in doing this. We are your servants, and we want to try and serve as best we can. We hope it was of use to anyone that listened live. I'm really sorry we didn't take any live comments. We just kind of got caught up, but I can see from the live comments there are a lot of devotees who are very encouraging, very appreciative of what was being said. So thank you, anyone that was listening live on Facebook and who listens to this in the future as well. But I want to invite our dear Radha Prabhu to come back and to close the session. But thank you, Manu and Ananda, once more.
Thank you.
On behalf of GBC SPT, I have to thank you guys. What a fantastic conversation. And anybody who's worried about the so-called next generation just needs to hear you guys speak. And then they'll understand that the movement is in good hands. You're in the hands of Prabhupada. Krishna's in your heart, and you're doing wonderful service. Fantastic discussion. One thing that came to my mind to kind of round out one of the central realizations I think you all were centering on is, I heard leadership characterized once: the leader is not the star of the show, but the one who creates a show that others can star in. And it seems like you all have really taken that to heart. Let us facilitate the service of others. And in that, Krishna gives us the strength we need to do, our own service for him. So thank you so much, each of you. And I think it would be a mistake on our part to not have you back. So look for more invitations in the future, more conversations like this. And thank you, everyone who was able to join today. On the page, please, over the next few days, we have some wonderful discussions coming from seniors, next generation, youth alike, about the purposes of ISKCON and how Prabhupada laid those out and how we can serve those today and into the future. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.